the actual convention, there are no reference to gender like there is in Biodiversity Convention and in Desertification Convention. And so why gender is particularly important in climate is that climate change has different impact on men and women. We have now had a very tragic experiences during last week in Philippines, where we had hurricanes and floods, and those have destroyed the crops. And what is happening now in Africa is that the droughts are increasing. So either you have too much water or you have no water, and the impact will be the same. So harvest is destroyed, and in Africa, for instance, 80% of the harvest and food is produced by women. So it is an obvious impact, so that the daily life and food security of women and through that families is very seriously impacted. So it has a direct impact on the daily lives of women. But I can take also an example here from developed countries and Europe, also here in Poland. So from the daily purchasing of families, women are doing more than 80%. So that is the case for the OECD countries. So women carry in their daily plastic bags the food and other family things, and women make every day in shopping a decision what kind of food and what kind of stuff they are purchasing for families, so that women take in this way decisions on consuming the material goods. And for instance, if we look carefully the food production of red meat in general requires 8 times more energy than production of vegetables having the same amount of proteins than the meat. So women can, with their daily decisions, make an impact on sustainable consumption and take a lead there if they so wish. And this is now then very important that both on mitigation and adaptation we address those groups which are involved and which take the decisions. It's no point of making consumer information for men if the purchasing is done by women.
And how do you intend to get this into the climate negotiations? How do you intend to get gender into any agreement in order to facilitate change?
We started to work for this goal of integrating the gender equality already some 5 years ago, when we got the Bali roadmap for starting the negotiations. And our aim was then in Copenhagen 2009, get a good instrument where the gender would be integrated. So we did not get that. And then we decided to change our strategy in such a way that instead of only looking the legally binding instrument, we have been now working through each subsidiary meetings, bodies meetings and COP meetings to get decisions on each of the major programs. So gender is already integrated in the programs like least developed countries program, Nairobi work program, forest safeguards, loss and damages, just to mention a few of them, but practically all programs are covered already. And since the Cancun meeting 3 years ago, we started to form new bodies like the new Green Climate Fund and technology mechanism, capacity building forum, a response measures forum, adaptation committee. In the establishing decisions on the modalities and composition of those bodies, there is also a reference to gender. So we have been very effective during 3 years. We have been able to work so that the gender is already integrated. So we have used the method of coming from the roots upwards, and now we are only, let's say, looking the new instrument to be agreed 2015 in Paris.
So what is the challenge left? Which agreement is it that you just need to get gender equality into? Is it just the final agreement for the 2020 targets?
That is you see, we are now aiming to this legally binding instrument, because through that it would come part of the national legislation as well. But I would still say that what we have got is now a bunch of papers, number of decisions, and the main challenge definitely is to implement those on the grassroots level and on the national level. It's a long way to go there. We got a major, let's say, political gender decision last year, and based on that decision we have had yesterday actually a gender workshop where we were looking the various practical possibilities, how we can now implement the gender equality target. And I was very positively surprised that in this workshop we had more participants than we ever have had, for instance, in the ADP workshop. So we had something like between 200 to 300 persons, and everybody were so enthusiastic now finally to be able to participate in this gender work. And I'm very positive that when we are now sitting this week together and looking the conclusions from that discussion, so we will have a very good action program.